The Knicks, 3-7 in their last 10 games. They got ran out the gym by a 30-loss Kings team. Brunson's ankle is hurt again. Mike Brown called out Cat. It's getting ugly fast around here. So let's talk some Knicks basketball with Jeremy Cohen of Knicks Film School. Jeremy, man, I woke up this morning to the good news of John Harbaugh being the Giants' next head coach, but then we see that Jalen Brunson is hurt again. He limped off the floor with another right ankle injury. It seems like this is the same one that has sidelined him twice already this season. We know what he means to the franchise and to the city, but he does play a lot of minutes daily, and he keeps tweaking that same right ankle. Question for you, sir. Are you starting, or are we starting to reach a point where the Knicks have to worry if his body can actually survive a deep June run, or are you just chalking this up as a string of freak accidents?
Tough to chalk it up as a string of freak accidents.
Okay.
But with that said, it's the sort of thing where there's not a lot of point guard protection behind Jalen Brunson. The Knicks don't have a lot of ball handlers who can really create some magic there. So by not having Brunson being able to be in the fold, you're then relying on someone who has very little experience as Tyler Kolek, or other players who are just naturally more off ball or not going to be as heavily impacted or downhill players. So it's frustrating to see Brunson, of course, being injured, and I would love to see some relief there, but you have to take care of him. I know this medical staff won an award last year for how they were able to keep guys healthy. Jalen Brunson is the engine for this team, have to be able to do that. But it's certainly concerning when he goes out and that ankle, there's a lot of pressure on it. And we've seen players have to rush back because this team isn't able to stay afloat. Can't have that keep happening, especially with your star player.
Yeah, Josh Hart had to rush back from that ankle injury. Deuce McBride suffered an ankle injury. It seems like it's just the ankle is the Achilles ankle when it comes to the Knicks. But let's talk about the effort, man, because there's another Achilles heel that's making this team lose these games. And I just don't know what it is. Mike Brown called the team out and said that they were just going through the motions in that loss. These losses are starting to pile up, and it looks like they are just stuck in some sort of funk that they can't get out of. So, two-part question. Take us to Knicks Film School, man. What are you seeing in terms of the why they're losing these games, and where are you at on the panic meter right now when it comes to this team?
For the why, this is the same team that won an NBA Cup this year that's also struggling, but the defense has been pretty rough for the last few months, really, the last couple months. In terms of the personnel that they have, it's hard to coexist with Cat and Brunson defensively. Can it thrive? We've seen moments of it, absolutely, but then you're looking at, well, how can you pair players who are maybe a little less great defensively with other guys who can surround them better? With that in mind, you go back to last season at the end of the year, where there's the article from The Athletic about how Karl-Anthony Towns was not able to provide the level of defensive communication that the Knicks needed. And so if you're looking at any situation that involves Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, between the two of them, one of them isn't going anywhere. And you know that he is going to have his shortcomings defensively, but you live with it because of the offensive production. That's, of course, Jalen Brunson. With Karl-Anthony Towns, when the offense isn't there and the defense isn't there, what's there? Because there's the threat, but if it's not leading to points, if it's not leading to success on either end of the court, that's a huge problem for this team.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned Cat, because I got a question for you, sir. Last week, we saw Mike Brown make the call to bench Cat for the final 9 minutes of that comeback win against Portland. Last night, he called him out on his effort. Here's Coach's response, and I'm going to play the video, and then we'll get your response.
Something happened where he fell down. I think it was he fell down. When you fall down, you got to get up, you got to sprint down the floor. And even if you're the last guy down the floor, you got to get down there just in case there's a long rebound. But there was no urgency. Now, that wasn't the only play. There were a handful of plays where we did that, but there was no sense of urgency on that particular play to get back. And it was a 5-point swing. If he at least gets down the floor, long rebound, he's going to get it because he's trailing the play. But we watched the play at halftime, and he didn't even cross half court. and that's part of that. That sums up, what our night was.
All right, $1 million question here, or $100 million question, since he's making a lot of money. Do you still view Cat as the co-superstar or the number 2 that can win you a ring, or is the friction between his skill set and Brown's demands becoming a fundamental flaw?
The way that I've seen Cat since the trade originally went down was understanding it's really difficult to pay Julius Randle what he's looking for and the fit that Julius Randle provides, which is that lack of spacing. We could talk about Cat and the effort that occurred with the 4-on-5 leading to a 5-point swing. The Knicks, of course, missed a lot of threes last night, which was incredibly difficult for that team to be able to overcome. Cat only took one of them. So if you have the greatest shooting big man earning $53 million and he's not able to at least space the floor, create that threat, we know he's posting up less than he really ever has. We know that he's taking or making fewer shots than he has before. He's got to be able to contribute somewhere. And so when I look at Cat, the hope, of course, is yes, he can be that second star. My belief for that has been understanding the cap mechanics that go into it, that you're taking his salary and trying to turn it into something better. Of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo's name's been mentioned. But unless something incredible happens this season that changes the trajectory of multiple franchises, you have Cat. The Knicks are not in the business of really downgrading. And I know the feeling of, we'll just move him because this isn't working. That's not how the Knicks operate. They don't operate that way. So it's either Cat needs to get it together, or the Knicks need to wait until the right opportunity to be able to improve upon what he does by going out of house. But that's going to be really difficult to do unless the market opens up for them.
Well, that February 5th trade deadline is right around the corner. They're losing. Brunson's health and availability is starting to become a question mark. Should Leon Rose be looking to sell off pieces like Gershon Yabusele or maybe even Pacom Dadier for depth? Or do you think it's time to consider moving one of the core pieces to kind of shake the locker room up?
You could do both. I would start absolutely with taking the players that are out of the rotation, packaging them up with any draft equity you have to get someone who's better, who can fill in, especially backcourt. Getting some player who can help with point of attack defense, but also lead you in terms of ball handling would be a great addition for this Knicks team, especially with Brunson's injury history. With that in mind, if you're able to take the players that you have on your roster and influence that top 7, shake it up in some way that gets you into a better scenario, all for looking into it. You got to do what you got to do in those scenarios. I don't think anyone outside of Jalen Brunson should be safe from the trade deadline, but there are some players, of course, where it just makes sense why they wouldn't be traded as well. But everything changes if a big name gets on board, and you have to make it work.
Any names out there that you'd want Leon Rose to go after and bring in?
Definitely interested in Jose Alvarado, just in terms of how he's able to defend. We've seen what the Knicks can do with a player like Deuce McBride. Understanding the concerns of Alvarado's height, you'd still have to find someone who's able to check off some of the boxes. If you're looking for a backup point guard, he's probably going to be not great defensively, and then that opens up a brand new can of worms, which is the point of attack defense. Now, is it worse than before? Have you solved a little bit of the offense but still hurt yourself defensively? That's one name that really comes to mind. And in terms of front court help, if the Knicks are able to find someone who is a backup to Mitch, he's showing signs of health, he's getting further improved, but if he goes down with an injury, it's very hard to replace him. So if they can find a rim runner, maybe a lower usage guy offensively who can just collect boards, box out, rebound really well offensively and defensively, who's a little bit more mature in terms of the experience that he might have, maybe some playoff minutes that can really benefit him, because we know this team's focused more on the postseason than they are on the regular season. That would really help provide depth for them too.
All right, Knicks are back in action tonight against the Warriors. Hopefully they can right this ship, man, get back into the winning category. Jeremy, thanks for hopping on with us, my man.
Thank you, Brandon.